Good morning everybody. In this video, I'm going to attempt a mock exam on AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate. So let's begin. First question. A company is using an Amazon S3 bucket to host static content for a website. They want to ensure that all data uploaded to the bucket is encrypted using server-side encryption with AWS KMS, and that any upload request not using SSE KMS is rejected. So they're trying to use server-side encryption using KMS, and any request not using the SSE KMS is rejected. Which two actions must the architect take? Which two options must the architect take? Select two. Option 1, enable default encryption on the S3 bucket and set it to SSE KMS. Create a bucket policy that denies S3 put object if header X Amazon server-side encryption is not set to the AWS KMS. Enable S3 versioning to ensure encrypted versions are kept. AWS WAF to filter out non-encrypted S3 put requests. Enable S3 guard duty to monitor for unencrypted uploads. I think A and B are the right answer. That's correct. Setting default encryption ensures that objects are encrypted. However, to strictly reject non-compliant uploads, requests from user, a bucket policy with an explicit deny is required. Going to next question. Question number 2. A video streaming company needs to process uploaded videos into multiple formats. The processing is CPU intensive and can take several minutes. The company wants to ensure that if a processing server fails, the video is not lost and will be picked up by another server. Which architecture provides the most resilient and scalable solution? Option 1, use an Amazon S3 bucket to store videos and have EC2 instance pull the bucket using a cron job. Option 2, use an S3 event notification to trigger an SMS topic that sends the video data directly to an EC2 instance. 3. Use an S3 event notification to push a message to an Amazon SQS queue and have the fleet of EC2 instances in an auto-scaling group pull the queue. Use an application load balancer to distribute upload traffic directly to a fleet of EC2 instances. I think the solution with SQS queue is the most relevant, and that is correct. Provides a buffer between the producer S3 and the consumer EC2. If an instance fails while processing, the message remains in the queue after the visibility times until the visibility time expires and is processed by another instance. This is the definition of the loosely coupled resilient architecture. Going to the next question, question number 3. A solutions architect is designing a serverless application that will process small messages under 256 KB from a high traffic website. The application must be able to scale to 0 when there is no traffic and handle thousands of concurrent requests during peak times. Which combination of services should the architect choose? Option 1, Amazon EC2 with auto scaling, AWS Lambda, Amazon SQS, Amazon EMR, Amazon RDS proxy. I think Lambda may not scale to thousands of concurrent requests. It has a limit. So SQS and EC2 should be the right answer. No, The actual right answer is Lambda and SQS. Lambda is the core serverless compute service that scales automatically to meet the demand and scales to zero. Amazon SQS acts as a decoupled entry point to manage spikes in traffic and ensure no messages are lost. Going to next question, question number 4. A solutions architect is designing a high traffic API that uses Amazon DynamoDB. The application must remain operational even if a single availability zone fails. It must support a recovery time objective (RTO) of nearly zero for regional disasters. Which two features should be used? Select 2. Option 1. DynamoDB standard IA storage class, DynamoDB global tables, DynamoDB streams, multi-region auto-scaling, DynamoDB on-demand capacity mode. I think the right answer should be global table and either C or either D or E. Multi-region auto-scaling and DynamoDB on-demand capacity mode. Let's go with option D. Wrong. It should be DynamoDB global tables and DynamoDB streams. Global tables provide a fully managed multi-region, multi-active database. It uses DynamoDB streams under the hood to replicate data across regions, allowing the application to read-write locally in any region with near zero RTO. Okay, let's go to next question. Question number 5. An organization wants to implement a pilot light disaster recovery strategy for their on-premises environment using AWS. Which two characteristics define a pilot light strategy? Select 2. All resources are mirrored and running in AWS at all times, active. Databases are kept up to date by replicating data from on-premises to AWS. Option C. The application is scaled to 50% capacity in AWS at all times. Option D. Only the critical core elements like database are running, other resources are provisioned only during a disaster. Option E. Users are split 50-50 between on-premises and AWS. So we have to select 2 answers. I would go with option B and option C. Option C is not the right answer. Now let's see the explanation. In a pilot light scenario, you keep a flicker of the environment running, usually just the database replication, and the web and app servers are not running. They are created from AMIs, machine images, or cloud formation when a failover is triggered. Okay, so option D is correct because only the critical core components like DB are running. Other resources are provisioned only during a disaster. Okay, that seems about right. Next question, question number 6. A media company stores 500 terabytes of video files in Amazon S3 bucket in US East 1 region. The compliance team mandates a disaster recovery plan with an RPO of 15 minutes and an RTO of 1 hour. The solution must protect against the total regional outage. Which strategy must meet these requirements with the least operational overhead? Option 1. Use AWS Data Sync to schedule an hourly transfer of S3 bucket to a bucket in US West 2. Option B, enable S3 cross-region replication to a bucket in US West 2 and use an S3 multi-region access point. Option C, create a Lambda function triggered by S3 put object events to copy objects to a second region. D, use AWS Snowball Edge to physically move copy of the data to a different region every week. Let's go with option B, which is the right answer. The S3 CRR provides a near real-time replication, meeting the 15-minute RPO. S3 multi-region access points provide a single global endpoint that can shift traffic between regions in minutes, meeting the 1-hour RTO with minimal manual interventions. Option 7, a financial institution is implementing a WAM standby disaster recovery strategy for a critical application that uses EC2, ALB, and RDS. Which two characteristics define a WAM standby architecture? Select 2. Option 1, all application resources are running at a reduced scale in the DR region. Application servers are only launched from AMIs after a disaster is declared. Option C, the database is actively running in the disaster region to handle background data synchronization. Option D, traffic is split 50-50 between the primary and secondary regions during normal operations. Option E, only the database is replicated. No complete resources exist in the DR region. So the right option should be all application resources are running at the reduced scale in disaster region. Servers are only launched from AMIs after disaster is discovered. No database is actively running in DR region to handle background data synchronization. So I'll go with option A and option C, which are the correct answers. In a WAM standby, a scaled down but functional version of the environment is always running. This differs from Pilot Lite, where only the database is running and compute is idle. Okay, going to next question, question number 8. A company uses AWS Storage Gateway, Volume Gateway for a on-premises backup. They want to ensure they can recover their on-premises volumes as EC2 instances in AWS during a disaster. Which two actions are required to facilitate this? Select 2. Store the volume snapshots in AWS S3. Option 1, store the volume snapshots in Amazon S3. Option 2, use the AWS Application Migration Service to convert snapshots to AMI. Option 3, create an EBS volume from the storage gateway snapshot and attach it to an EC2 instance. Option 4, use Direct Connect to stream the on-premises hardware state to AWS. Option 5, install the AWS System Manager agent on on-premises servers. Select 2. So I think the right answer would be option A and option B. Convert the snapshots to AMIs, or maybe not. Create an EBS. Option C is create an EBS volume from the storage gateway snapshot and attach it to EC2 instances. Let's go with option A and option B. The right answer is option A and option C. Volume gateways snapshots are stored in S3. To recover, you create an EBS volume from that snapshot and attach it to an EC2 instance. This is classic hybrid DR scenario. Okay, so it's not option B, but it's option C, where the snapshot is directly created into an EBS volume and attached to the EC2 instance. Question 9. A retail company runs a containerized web application during a flash sale The application must scale from 10 containers to 500 containers in less than 60 seconds. Which compute combination provides the fastest scaling for containers? ECS with EC2 launch type using pre-provisioned instance. ECS with Fargate launch type. EKS with EC2 managed node groups. EKS with cluster auto scaler. I think the right answer is option A. Sorry, the right answer is option B, ECS with Fargate launch type. Fargate scales faster for sudden burst because you don't have to wait for EC2 instances to boot up and join the cluster. Faster Fargate manages the underlying capacity pool, allowing for rapid task injection. Alright, let's go to question number 10. A research organization is running a massively parallel simulation of fleet on EC2 instances. The application requires a shared file system that can handle millions of IOPS for a small random metadata operation and 500 Gbps of aggregate throughput. The simulation data is transient but must be protected against the failure of a single storage server within a single availability zone. Which two configurations meet these requirements? Amazon FSX for Lustre with Scratch 2 SSD deployments. Amazon FSX for Lustre with a persistent 2 SSD deployment. Option 3. Amazon EFS with max IO performance mode and elastic throughput. Option 4. Amazon FSX for OpenGFS with multi-AZ deployment. An array of IO2 block express volumes in a RAID 0 configuration attached to a single instance. Single availability zone failure, it has to resist that. So multi-AZ deployment, Lustre with let's go with option C and D. The right answer is option A and B. Both FSX for Lustre Scratch 2 and Persistent 2 are designed for these performance levels. Scratch 2 is the most cost effective for transient data, but still provides data replication within AZ to protect against server failure, unlike Scratch 1. Persistent 2 provides high metadata performance and longer term durability. EFS choice cannot reach 500 Gbps. Choice E is not a shared file system for a cluster of instances. So with this, our exam has completed. Let's see the result. I got 40%. We can review the exam. Basically, I got this answer wrong, where the right answer was AWS Lambda, which can scale instantaneously to accommodate large number of requests. Question number 4. DynamoDB streams is inherently used in DynamoDB global tables to replicate data from one table to another table in the other region. Next question that I got wrong was question number 5, where the right answer is only the critical core elements like the DB are running, other resources are provisioned only during a disaster. So this is for the pilot light disaster recovery strategy. Next wrong question is question number 8, which asks about AWS Storage Gateway. A company uses AWS Storage Gateway and it wants to back up data quickly during a disaster to an EC2 instance. How do we do that? So we have to store the data volume snapshots in S3 and use EBS volume from the storage gateway snapshot and attach it to the EC2 instances. Question number 9 is also wrong because we need to select ECS with target launch type, which can attach quickly and start sharing the load from the request. So it's pretty quick to start instead of the EC2 launch type, which has to boot the server and attach it, which takes a lot of time. Question number 10. Massively parallel simulation, which has to reach a certain amount of IOPS and has to be tolerant to single availability zone failures. So Amazon SSX for Lustre, Scratch 2 and Persistent 2 both are the right answers. Alright, with this our exam has come to an end. Thank you for watching. Bye.